Hi everyone in English 2323, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your instructional video for the portfolio assignment. So I want to start by saying this is not due this week, right? This is something that is due in a future week, so you may want to go and look at the schedule just to get a sense of when this is coming, but having the video now gives you a sense of what we're preparing for, right? What's the end game, especially when we're thinking about our written responses. So what I plan to do is to go through just the rubric and the expectations. There is a template, so I'll walk through that so that you really have an understanding and a visual, right, of what the expectations are. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump to the rubric. So this is just kind of that visual breakdown. We want to be sticking in this column right here, right, the advanced awesome. So the criteria for each of those responses, we will have two, right, are listed here. And if I had to choose a couple of areas where I tend to see students losing some points just kind of, across the board, it's with the sources and documenting section. You are going to need a works cited for this assignment, as well as those in-text citations, and then the abstract paragraphs. So what I'll do is I'll go to the second page so I can dig in more deeply about those abstract paragraphs. But overall, I want you to think about our goal as going back to those written responses and really reconsidering our ideas, but also our writing, right? To see how effectively are we communicating our ideas? How are we writing about literature in a way that helps our readers understand, right? So you're going to revise, edit, and submit those as a single document in one of the three, acceptable formats for D2L. All right, so a lot of the time is going to be in the revision process, right? So it's going back to my feedback, going back to the, your thoughts with fresh eyes. It's going back to that work so that you can get a new sense, right? An idea of what you really want to say. Because sometimes we'll submit an assignment, we may take some time to revise and edit that assignment, but having a little bit of time and then going back to it can help make that submission just even more amazing, right? So you already have amazing ideas, you already are effectively communicating them, so let's just push it to the nth degree, right? Let's get it to that just wonderful stage. All right. So in academic circles, it's just important that I note that reusing work without permission from the instructor, it is considered plagiarism. So just keep that in mind. This is something that I am assigning you, right? That is me giving you permission to rework that. So these are elements of plagiarism we want to avoid, but our purpose here is to really push ourselves as writers and literary critics, right? If we go back to our ideas, we can just make things even better. So it's also pushing us to utilize strategies that I really hope you take with you in future classes, and one of them is really revision. I can't tell you how many students don't take some time to revise, and that's understandable. Sometimes things come up, and you got to get it submitted. You have to get it off your plate because other things are coming. There are various points in the semester where that's going to be the case, and I get it. And that's kind of why we have this option, right? We're going and taking that time, we're using feedback, we may make an appointment with a tutor, whatever it is that's going to help us just get that to the best possible place with our writing. But I really hope that you take some of these ideas about revision with you and utilize them whenever you're writing for college, right? All right, so our criteria is going to include, we need those two written responses, okay? We're going to rework those. Each response needs to be at least 3 paragraphs. Typically, you already have things that are assigned 3 or 4 paragraphs. So just go by what was assigned at the time. If there happened to be a response, which I can't think of, that's less than 3 paragraphs, then you would have to write more. But ultimately, you should have the length that's down. It really does need to reflect that original prompt, right? So if 4 paragraphs were required, 4 paragraphs are in your response, okay? Each entry is going to include that abstract paragraph that appears in italics at the beginning. This is a way to give some context to your audience. What was your process in originally writing the response, revising it, reviewing it, adding research, all of those kinds of things, right? Abstract paragraphs are very common in academic writing, especially when we're thinking about scholarly journals and articles. An abstract kind of breaks down the ideas within the text that follows. In our case, we're really breaking down our process, right? So what did we do to originally read the text that we're writing about? What was our process in revising or producing the writing that we had? Did you look at my comments and feedback? You're just giving some context, but then you can also go into if your ideas change. Did you go back to that initial reading and do you think differently about it now? Do you have some different insights, right? Sometimes with fresh eyes, there's a lot that we can discover, right? So those abstract paragraphs are giving us that context, and it should be about 4 to 5 sentences minimum. So come back to this part of the assignment when it's time to write those abstract paragraphs. So if you have questions, you can kind of search here. The portfolio, of course, needs to follow MLA guidelines, which header, heading, title. There's no title page. We don't do that in MLA anymore. 12-point font, Times New Roman, and a works cited. So we're also adding that to our requirements. So a works cited page is going to be essentially the last page in this document, right? That's what a works cited is. It always comes at the end. It's on its own page. It needs to follow MLA guidelines. So make sure that you consider using the Purdue OWL site because there are examples. There is a citation generator, which isn't perfect. None of these citation generators you can find online are perfect, partially because you have to enter the information perfectly. And that can be really hard because sometimes it's asking for volume and addition and all of these kinds of things, and you have to really decipher all this information and then enter it into the generator correctly, which can be a lot. It's a great starting point. Use those generators, but you have to be the be-all, end-all editor when it comes to that. But this is also why I encourage you to meet with a tutor. The tutors know MLA formatting and they can really help you with that. All right, so the portfolio needs to be submitted in the D2L assignments area in one of the proper formats. Remember, it is a single document, right? We're not doing separate documents for your responses. And it's going to be something that may push you, urge you, compel you to make an appointment with the tutor, and you can do so by clicking here. It is a pretty big grade, so I want you to make sure that you're putting the time and effort into the revision process and considering your ideas. If you scroll down, this is an actual entry from a student. This is something that the student gave me permission to share, right? But it's just giving you the visual. It's showing you that there's, the heading, the header, all of that. There is the abstract paragraph that's in italics, right? The curvy kind of font, and then that goes right into the revised response, and then there's the works cited, right? So this shows you there is this abstract paragraph that the author is going back and thinking about the process that she utilized when thinking about this. And then it goes right, there's no space or anything, it goes right into the revision, or I'm sorry, the revised response after that italicized paragraph. And then if you scroll down, you would get to not only the second written response that was revised, but also the last page would be a works cited, right? So to help kind of give you a visual of that, this is the template that I urge you to use, because it has your heading, it has the space for your header at the top where you can enter your own last name. You can keep this title here, that's fine. We don't have to have really exciting titles. That's just not part of what academic writing is. So this is where your abstract paragraph would go, right, in italics. So all you need to do is highlight it and then start your own. And you'll see that is already italicized, okay? So this is where no space or anything. This is where you're going to start the revised response. Then there's a single space. And then you're starting the second revised response, right? And going into all of that. I've left a few notes here for you. And then if you scroll down, you'll see the works cited where I have some examples just to share. But this, again, is just a template that's meant to be a guide, right? Be a guide so that you have an idea of where everything needs to go, how it needs to look on the page, that kind of thing. So that's really our goal for the assignment, is just to reconsider our ideas and our writing and put those together in a single document and then think about them. Have that abstract paragraph which really gives some context. So if you have any questions or concerns, as always, jump in the Q&A discussion area. I really appreciate when y'all do that. Or of course, you can reach out to me directly by email, or you can set up a meeting with me on WebEx. I'd be happy to see you. All right, good luck. Let me know what you need.